Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Let's Study a Book. Glad to have each and every one of you on today's or tonight's call. Always a pleasure. We are beginning a new book on today. We just got done with the E-Myth Revisited last week, and it was a very, very helpful book, wonderful book. And now we're on to an even better book. All right. So without further ado, I'm about to hand it over to our master trainers for the evening, all the way from sunny Florida, our wonderful award-winning original humor consultants, Mr. and Mrs. Phil and Susan Sorrentino.
Thank you, Grace. I'm going to start by giving you a little nugget, a little gift to reward you for showing up. You know, Woody Allen said 80% of success is showing up. For those of you who showed up, I'm going to give you a gift. I'm going to give you how to get 104 prompts for writing out the first sentence of your speech. 104 prompts for writing out the first sentence of your speech. And let me read what he has down at the bottom of the printout. Please remember that I'm just the guy with the laptop making his way through this crazy world. If you'd like to share this work with others, please have them reach out to me at neil@neilcanhelp.com instead of sharing the content. No lawsuits, just the honor system. Is that cool or what? So you go to neil@neilcanhelp.com, and I'll read the first paragraph. Below are the 104 prompts for writing out the first sentence of your speech, organized by 5 speaker types found at my quiz at neilcanhelp.com/quiz. Please remember that you're not obligated to take the quiz, nor are you obligated to use any one of the 5 speaker types based on your results. I just organized them by type to make the big old list more manageable.
Mr. Phil, how does he
Those
spell
of you who showed up,
how does he spell Neil? N-E-I-L. Okay, thank you.
N-E-I-L at neilcanhelp.com. Now, into what we're going to do. This is the first time in the history of our Let's Study a Book. We have the author with us. He's going to be here on the call. How exciting is that? The author is here.
Woo!
And I'd like to have a show of hands. How many are now streaming, doing some sort of streaming? Susan and I just started about a month ago. How many else are doing streaming? So we got Susan, we got Antonio, that's 2. Grace, that's 3.
I watch
else?
networks. If that
Please?
counts streaming. I watch a streaming networks.
No, how many are you streaming?
Oh no, I ain't.
That's close. I'm not discounting it. So we got 3, right? Okay, so that's our benchmark. We're starting this book with 3 people streaming, and my goal is by the time we're done, I want to see how many people we've encouraged to do this. Because in all the stuff I've studied and all those things that you can actually start doing something with that's going to help you propel your career, I think streaming is among the best tools you can do it with. So that's why I'm really excited about going to it tonight. Now, what we've got is an unbelievable great reader of the book. So if you don't have the book, you don't have to have it. And each section is about 3.5 minutes. And what I'd like for each of you to do is really pay attention to each 3.5 minute section, because we're going to take a break and I want feedback. I want to hear what you got out of it. If you have any questions, because how often do you have the author of the book with you while you're going through it? Not very. So unless anybody has anything else for the group, Grace, let's get it started. Anybody else got anything they'd like to share before we get into this? Cool beans. It's showtime.
Sorry, I'm streaming. Why you should create your own Netflix and how to pull it off. Your step-by-step guide to getting your piece of the video streaming wealth pool. By Amazon's #1 best-selling author, Antonio T. Smith, Jr. Introduction. Imagine finding an oil well at the height of the fossil fuel industry's boom. Imagine finding a gold reserve in your backyard during the gold rush. Imagine having the largest social network right around the big tech boom. It really is something to be in the right place at the right time when an industry is experiencing a boom. but it is often visible only in hindsight. In fact, sometimes people are betting against what is undeniably the future of a market. Can you believe that Kodak, the leader of analog photography, came up with the first digital camera? Yes, the corporation got taken out by the thing they invented. They just did not know that it was the thing to put their weight behind. They doubled down on analog, and before they knew it, companies like Sony were taking massive chunks of their market share, and they had already invested tens of millions into analog technology destined to fail. In hindsight, there are always signs that could have been seen as the dawn of a new industry, yet there are only a few who cash in. If only someone told me to invest in Bitcoin, many say when they encounter someone who has built a fortune buying Bitcoins for less than $1. What if I were to tell you that we are in the age of yet another industry and you have the opportunity to cash in? In May of 2020, the world learned that independent content creator Joe Rogan had signed an exclusive licensing deal for his content with Spotify. The value of the deal? $100 million. And that spelled the beginning of the content industry's rise. As soon as Rogan signed on the dotted line, we entered a new world. The beginnings of this world go all the way back to Disney's then CEO Bob Iger acquiring Pixar from Steve Jobs back in 2006. Value of the deal? $7.4 billion. While corporations and media conglomerates were in the content game forever, it is around the age of streaming introduced by Netflix that these giants started cutting in smaller content creators. And as soon as people learned about the Rogan deal, they should have hopped on the content creation wagon right away. As late as it may seem, the time is now. For anyone with personality, charm, and charisma, it is time to start an interview show. For anyone with a flair for the dramatic, it is time to get involved in the fiction media space. And for anyone with money to invest, it is time to build your own Netflix. In this book, I will cover content creation as well as platform building. And I will make a solid case for why you could realistically be the next streaming millionaire and possibly a billionaire if you use the right tools and strategies. Like music? Get started on that. Like sports? Get started on that. Like self-development? Get started on that. It does not matter what your interests are. You have the opportunity to get your share of the subscription video on demand pie.
Wow. Imagine. He starts off by asking us to imagine. And then he ends by giving us a concrete thing that we can imagine for. Any other, what'd you get out of that? What kind of questions you might have for the author who's with us? Who wants to go next?
What made you know that this was the next big thing? Like, this is it. This is the one. For, I guess, for right now.
Well, no, it is the one. But it wasn't something that made me know. It's all the opportunities I've missed before. I was too right. I was too young for oil deregulation, but I was of age for the energy deregulation. I was of age to watch AT&T buy itself back. I was of age for the dot-com bubble and burst. I watched Enron explode and implode. They somehow did both. I watched Web 1.0. I watched Napster be the first social media. I watched MySpace just excite the world. I watched Apple Music completely replace CDs, DVDs. I was late to Facebook. I watched LinkedIn change job applications, and it wasn't hard for me finally after 13 eras to look at 2012 Netflix start streaming. It was just hey, I messed up before again. So it was easy for me to see after all those mistakes.
Yeah, so you are recognizing the disruption industries,
Absolutely.
how industries were being disrupted.
Hmm.
Whether it be Uber or Airbnb, we're in a age now where what was is not going to be, and what is could be something completely different.
Right.
What would you suggest to the people that are just listening to this for the first time as we get into the book, Antonio?
To have an open mind. Well, no, more than that. I would suggest, so my alma mater, I think HBU, Houston Baptist University, started in 1963. And they just sent me a magazine today because I'm a alma mater, whatever you call this. They just
Alumni.
changed it. Alumni. There you go. They just changed their name to Houston Christian University.
Oh, wow.
No longer Baptist, like as of today. And it's got the whole centerfold that says, like, this is like, they just changed the name, and it's a whole bunch of centerfolds that say it's official on here. I just got this today. And what's crazy is there's no reason for them to change their name to Houston Christian University. They don't have to. They own that entire place of Houston. So if they're changing their name from a denomination that is, or catches a lot of flack, they're not necessarily good on women or race. They're not necessarily kind in the South. And now they're going Christian to get all the nominations. If the church is changing, which makes no sense because the church doesn't change, then pay attention to that. Pay attention to everybody's changing but us, whoever us may be.
Antonio,
Yes, ma'am.
our local news at from 5:30 to 6, it's not your regular local news show. It is a podcast. And it's two hosts. They're sitting there with their, their mics and, their headsets on and everything. And that today was really cool. I just happened to turn it on, and they were talking about all the celebrities that were born in Florida. And so they were going through each one and where they live in Florida. And then they said, and we're going to interview one of them after all this at the end. And who they interviewed was Carrot Top.
Nah. Well, that's
And
how
I'm
you,
like, oh no, but you know what? He started in the 80s. He is still performing in
Yeah.
Vegas every week. He's still
Right.
performing. And I mean, he was so funny and
Mhm.
so relevant what he did today that he captured my attention. And the show has captured my attention because I'm watching all those things that they're doing. And so, television, even the local news is changing.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
that's
can
very
take
telling.
people normal like us can be in the news business, be in the broadcast business overnight with very little expense. We just need to have knowledge and then go to work. And that's what this book study is supposed to be about. We're going to give you knowledge. We're going to give you things to do, and then it's going to be up to you to go to work. Anybody else has anything else they'd like to contribute before we go on to the next section? Going once, going twice. Take it away, Grace.
Step 1. Investigate ownership. Who owns the news? Quite some time has passed since people seriously considered who owns a controlling interest in the businesses that deliver the news. Since truth gets measured by what news media reports and news media are for-profit businesses, there is a fundamental conflict of interest. However, as capitalism does with anything, we leave it for the competition to iron out the problems. In other words, if a channel lies to the public, the viewers will switch to another channel that is more honest and accurate in its reporting. Guess what? 13 people own a majority of the country's news media. Don't believe me? I am not pushing a conspiracy theory. These are their names, and they have publicly listed ownership and or control of pretty much all the news you consume. Michael Bloomberg owns Bloomberg LP and Bloomberg Media. Rupert Murdoch owns News Corp and 120 newspapers alongside his family. Some notable names that are or have been under his influence include the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Fox News, and 21st Century Fox. Donald and Cy Newhouse control Advanced Publications. Some names that may be familiar to you include Wired Magazine, The New Yorker, Vogue, and Vanity Fair. The Cox family controls the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, giving them the ownership and control of 14 TV channels and 59 radio stations. Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post in 2013. John Henry controls the Boston Globe. Sheldon Adelson controls the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Joe Mansueto controls Inc. and Fast Company magazines. Mortimer Zuckerman controls U.S. News, World Report, and New York Daily News. Barbie family controls Village Voice. Stanley Hubbard controls Hubbard Broadcasting, which gives him control of 13 TV channels, including local affiliates of ABC and NBC News. Carlin Slim Halo controls the New York Times with the largest individual stake. Warren Buffett has invested in Regional Daily Papers, a company that has over 70 dailies as of today. As you can see, some companies own dozens of news outlets and television stations, giving you the illusion of variety and competition. But if 15 or so people decide that a certain story is true, it is nearly impossible for the American public to believe otherwise. My point of bringing this up is not to spell doom and gloom, but to highlight the opportunity. Remember that in capitalism, market corrections are the rule, not the exception. If companies get overvalued, the value crashes to correct for the hype. If companies are undervalued, a correction happens and the value increases. One thing that often gets corrected is that when too much power gets in the hand of too few people. Democratization occurs spontaneously, and those who anticipate it are at the forefront of cashing in on the opportunity. Uber did it with the cab industry, Airbnb did it with the hoteling industry, and you can do it with the news industry. If you start as little as a blog, you are taking a first step towards becoming a part of this revolution. And you have no idea what someone might pay you to buy it off.
Mercy, mercy, mercy. Great stuff. And by the way, I can't thank Grace enough. Does she do a great job in doing what she does? She makes it sound so natural and easy. And trust me, it's not natural and easy to do what she does in reading that and getting us this information. So, opinions, observations, revelations. Well, I want to hear from you.
Well, it is crazy that only 13 people own the majority of the country's news. And is it okay? So because 13 people own it, it's like you can't even attempt to buy into it because it's now like considered family businesses, correct? Like even if I wanted to get into Bloomberg LP, I couldn't. That is that is amazing. And so 13 people control how news is portrayed in our world, in our country, you know? And so that's wow. Which means a lot of money as well. So,
Well, it's the information. And that's what you say, you know, when I was growing up, to say, if you were to take over a company, what would be the first thing you do? And they'd say, and the answer was take over the media. Because they distribute the information, they distribute what quote unquote is going on or not going on. So this whole thing is just to take over the way we get information. Because that's what they're talking about here. And can you be compelling enough that you put information out in a way that makes people want to say, ooh, I like what they just said, or I heard what they just said, or that was valuable what they did. I better come back next week because fear of missing out. As long as you're providing value, you create this concept called fear of missing out. So they're going to show up just because they don't want to miss out. Anybody else has something to contribute?
Janice says absolutely in the chat. She said earlier she can't. She's in a loud background.
Okay. Thanks, Janice. All right, let's go next.
Who owns the entertainment? While with news channels, the ownership of media companies seems to be from behind smoke and mirrors, with entertainment conglomerates love to throw their names at you right at the beginning of movies. You may still not fully grasp how much of your media is owned by a small number of companies. So in this chapter, I will cover the 6 or so companies that have an oligopoly on your entertainment. A conversation about this cannot possibly be started without discussing Disney. Before recently stepping down from Disney, the former CEO, Bob Iger, led a mission of acquiring high-value entertainment properties that covered pretty much every name you are familiar with. As of today, Disney owns ABC, 80% of ESPN, Touchstone Pictures, Marvel, Lucasfilm, everything Star Wars, 50% of A&E, 50% of the History Channel, 50% of Lifetime, Pixar, Hollywood Records, 10% of Vice Media, Core Publishing, and 21st Century Fox. So everything from right-wing talk shows like the one on Fox News to leftist late-night TV shows like Jimmy Kimmel Live are owned by Disney. And here's what makes their ownership interesting. They don't just own these companies, they own the content, and that's what is valuable. That is why when Disney launched its streaming service, Disney Plus, the Plus stood for content from all the companies Disney had bought in its acquisition strategy. As of today, the platform owned by a single company has over 500 films and 7,000 episodes of television. Moving away from Disney, we have Viacom. The restructured company is now called Viacom-CBS, and here are some of its properties. CBS, all the Showtime channels, Paramount Pictures, Nickelodeon, MTV, Comedy Central, BET, CBS All Access, Pluto TV, and the publishing house Simon & Schuster. Instead of listing out the number of movies and shows owned by the company, it suffices to say that the giant owns 170 networks that reach 700 million people. If you have had enough of Disney and Viacom-CBS, you can feast on the content galore owned by Warner Media. Formerly Time Warner, this media conglomerate itself is owned by AT&T, which was founded by Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone. A company as old as AT&T knows a thing or two about investing, and its media entity Time Warner owns Warner Brothers, the CW, Fandango Media, which includes Rotten Tomatoes, Turner Entertainment, Water Tower Music, New Line Cinema, DC Films, TMZ, HBO, Cartoon Network, and CNN, among other media companies. This conglomerate doesn't just own movie studios, it also owns a network of sites that review movies. I hope that by diving into the kind of ownership a handful of companies have over our entertainment, I have illustrated that we are due for a correction. And even if we are not, it must be motivating for you to know that the people buying content rights have deep pockets and billions of dollars to spare. So I encourage you that instead of breaking your back to build a brick-and-mortar company, that you will sell to a small fry millionaire, start laying the foundation for your streaming business that you can sell to multi-billion-dollar giants.
Woo! Great pronunciation of oligopoly.
Thank you. Yeah.
Perceptions, ideas, comments.
Fun fact, when I read it the first time, I had to go back and re-record. I had to look.
I do want to say one to spark the conversation.
Please.
Yes.
We want you to participate as much as possible, young man.
Okay, cool. I'll do that. The Disney Plus angle that I was drawing out is they don't have Netflix problem, as in renting movies from other people and having to negotiate. and that price goes up, that price goes down, making a commodity. All Disney Plus stuff is Disney originals. Their streaming service is theirs completely. Netflix can't say that.
There's
Even
no
though
cost of goods.
no cost of goods, no cost of goods, and that is a huge inspiration behind the way I'm doing ATS TV. But no doubt about it, and that should be kickstart some sort of conversation, because that is a power move, a power move.
I also saw that you put in the chat earlier that Bob Iger became their CEO again 2 weeks ago. What made him come back?
Well, the CEO that's not fair, because the CEO that they had went through the pandemic and a bunch of other stuff, so that's not necessarily fair. But the stock dropped 33% during his tenure, so it's yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, I am interested to know how Bob Iger talked these people into bringing over and having Disney have ownership over, I guess, their companies. There was
Well, he did it
crazy.
before. Oh no, he did it. He did it. So he bought Marvel Comics in 1999 when Marvel Comics was nearly out of business. It's almost impossible to say that now, but he bought it in 1999 when the only successful thing that had going on was Blade with Wesley Snipes, and that was, and and I think maybe even Disney did that. I'm not even sure, but they were about to go out of business, and so all these acquisitions brought Lucasfilms way before people with understanding the power of streaming. That's one of the things about Mr. Bob and his vision. He's just way out there. So it's not just the art of buying low, selling high. It's the art of doing things 12 years in the future before people even realize it's the future. Mm-hmm.
What suggestion would you give to us? Of, say we want to start something. What would be the first thing you would we should put on our list that we should focus on?
It would only be in like a category of 6 things, but the one answer would be anything that strongly supports the metaverse, because whether we like it or not, it is coming, and it's not a matter of coming. It is going to. It's going to be what social media is today. It's not social media is everything. Social media has changed the way news work. The metaverse will change the way everything works. So we need to be finding out how to support that, whether it be controlling that data, saving that data, 3D design, 2D design, commercials in blocks, 15-second commercials. How are we going to, it's going to change the way we advertise. And if you're doing something, think about your podcast. If you have a podcast, but the podcast isn't currently moving to video today, then you're going to be behind now, due to the fact it doesn't need to stay video, but it needs something that is going to be plugged into the metaverse, unless you're going to have an audio version of the metaverse that you're going to control. That's what I would say.
And bouncing off that, you can take your podcast, NFT it now when everything goes to metaverse. You already had it the game.
Absolutely. Blockchain is going to be a blockchain is going to be one of those industries that support the metaverse. So that's exactly what I'm saying.
Cool.
One thing I learned off of it, that I know I'm gonna invest in Disney stock because they ain't going up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
All right, Grace.
It always ends with people. The temptation to see corporations as alien is there when we discuss control and ownership. After all, No one wants to believe that a few humans have so much power. But it is important that you understand that it is not just three conglomerates who own most of your entertainment and news. It is less than 50 humans. 32 media executives control the information consumed by over 277 million Americans. That means one executive decides what 850,000 people view. Of course, this is done through a complex media machinery housed under a number of companies, but you have to realize that it is the same 6 companies that own 70% of the cable you watch. We discussed Time Warner in the previous chapter, and 200 million unique users read news published by its properties. We believe readership is going away while media conglomerates won't even spare radio. There is a company called Clear Channel, and it owns not 500, not 1,000, but a whopping 1,200 radio stations. One company. And guess who runs that one company? People. They are people, and you are a person. How much news do you control? The answer is most likely 0. But if you curate what you share on Facebook, you control 100 billionth percent of your friend's new diet. How much entertainment do you own? The answer is likely 0. But if you have a podcast, you own a tiny portion of the overall streaming pie. This first part has been about convincing you that this industry is booming and that there are buyers everywhere. If you start something that gets hot enough, it will be taken off your hands, and you will be paid handsomely. And if you want to create your own economy by not just owning content, but expanding it into a full-fledged streaming platform, then more power to you. I will teach you how to do that as well. But it has to start with people. Remember who you are as a person and pick something for content creation that resonates with you. It is easy to dismiss media executives as cold, calculating, empty suits, but you have to realize how much passion Bob Iger had for different kinds of stories and Disney mythology as a whole to rise from heading a company under Disney to rising to the conglomerate's CEO. And afterward, the man talked some of the most artistic independents into selling their companies to him. Who else got Steve Jobs and George Lucas on board? If Billion Dollar Bob has to be a human at the top of the media game, you cannot afford to make empty content with dollar signs in your eyes. If you have to start with genuine content that will come from you, the person, and resonate with your audience, the people. And eventually, you will either sell it to billion-dollar corporations run by people or take it public on a stock market led by people. Just remember that it all ends with people, and people love authenticity. Remember who you are, and that will be your unique selling point forever.
Whew. You have to start with the genuine content that will come from you, the person, and resonate with your audience, the people. I should get that on a tattoo. Observations, feedback, opinions. What resonates with you? I would say for me, the challenge, the power, and if you want it to be, the fun of free will.
What resonated with me is no, you don't control any news, but if you curate what you share on Facebook, you control 100 billionth percent of your friend's new diet. Do you know how many zeros are before the 1 in 1 billionth percent? That's it is minuscule. Okay. So, but you do have to start somewhere. Okay. But that did resonate with me. You got to start somewhere.
10 zeros.
Yes. My goodness.
I liked how they said, remember who you are, and get into that headspace of who you are.
People love authenticity.
Yeah.
So let's go around. What if we were to ask, who are you? What phrase would you give us? What perception would you have us to help us understand you? Who wants to go first? I just gave you mine.
Can you repeat yours again, Mr. Field?
Mine is, I want people to understand the challenge, the power, and if you want it to be the fun of free will.
Okay, I thought somebody was saying something. All right, well, that is a good question, Mr. Phil. Wow. Hmm. That's a good question. I gotta come back.
I
Okay,
think it's a question we need to ask right here, especially before we go on to the future, because if you have that question answered, you can start going down the road here to get this thing done. But before you do, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. So by understanding who you are and what you want to project out into the world, that's your light. What is your light? What's your purpose in life?
wow, okay. This is why Antonio told me to sit down for an hour. That is why. Okay. Yeah, I get it. Okay.
Well, maybe that's something we can ask people to work on, and next week bring it back, bring
Mhm.
it to the call next week.
Okay.
Who
Sounds
are
good.
you and what do you want to be remembered for?
That is good. Now, I know, and go ahead, Adrian.
I just have a question. Is that where you would put that 10 at? You know, like who are you and what do you do? You know how you say you should do it in 10 words or less? Is that the same? Is that this like
Yeah,
same
maybe.
concept, same question? Because
Yeah,
at the end of the
exactly.
day, it's the same. Yeah, right. I think you just worded it different. So it just seemed it just I know that I'm a little backwards right now, so that's why I don't really want to say too much. But it just sounded like the same thing. And that's why Grace was like, huh? But you know that because that's like what do you do? You know who you are, what you do. You are the person that does something and helps people make business things great or something. Like you have it. You know what I mean? Like you say it as the response to something else. So that was just weird to hear. I guess so I guess I would be like what the light shining in darkness or making crooked things straight. Is that how
Yeah,
you
that's
would
how you start, and just get those words down. Your purpose is locked in your subconscious mind. When your soul negotiated with the powers that be to come down here and manifest on the physical plane at this particular time in the time continuum, it said, this is what I want to accomplish when I'm down there. So you come down here and the powers that be set up a number of things in front of you that if you get through those things, you're going to learn what you're supposed to learn. So for instance, my purpose in life is find a need and fill. It's kind of long, but I've had 71 years to develop it. So mine might be longer than somebody who's a little bit younger than I. It wasn't always this long, but find a need and fill it. My name is Phil. Now I tease, I say, my name for 20 days was Richard Keith Costello. So should my purpose be find a need and dick it? Probably not. But find a need and fill it through the power of praise, action, humor, money, and or trade by being loving, forgiving, and grateful to myself and others. So that's my purpose in life. What I want people to understand is the challenge, the power, and if you want it to be the fun of free will. So that's my cliff notes of what this entity is sitting in front of you as we speak. And that's what I think we need to help distill down to. And you do it by just brainstorming and writing down words. Your words have vibrations. And what words vibrate to you, you'll recognize the right words. And you got it. And Adrian, what'd you say? To be the light to the world, and what else? There's another phrase you had.
and make crooked things straight.
Yeah, there we go. So that's a great start. So when we interact with you, we know, boy, she's going to bring light to the world, and she's going to help us out with our crooked things. She's going to help us get straight. That's beautiful.
And provide a sense of oneness that we all can stand as together.
Ooh, that's good. There you go.
That would be me. So we can march on
Right.
forward.
Yeah, now you can build a podcast just around that. and get people in and have them talk and interact about what do you think of this and
Well,
how would
I can
you
just say
approach this?
I don't really want to comment on it because actually listening to the book is just like listening to Antonio. And for the last couple of weeks, I have not been able to even hear Antonio because I need to do what Antonio has been saying do forever in a damn day. And now to hear the book, he's just gonna say it again in a different way. It's just gonna be in Grace's voice, but it's still Antonio's damn words. And I'm still saying the same damn thing. Like, oh my God, like, oh my God. And then you're gonna say, comment, say something. And I'm thinking, kill me again, kill me in the morning, kill me in the afternoon. Now you're gonna kill me in the evening. But guess what? I'm going to do what that says to do because ain't no other thing to do but to do the damn thing now. Damn. I mean, this is like you can't even run from it. I don't even get on the call. I haven't been on a call in a week and a half, damn near 2 weeks, just so that I didn't have to hear it again. And then you start the book, and I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Sorry, I'm streaming. Really? Like, oh my God. You know what? I'm done with it. Like, I'm finished. I talked to Tracy half the day today, and but in the middle of the call, both of us at the same time said, we should be recording this. This is content. This is exactly what he's talking about. And I said, you know what? I'm so sick of this guy. And then he comes back on. So yes, Antonio. I guess, you know, the only thing I can say is when I receive the rewards that I'm going to receive, because we're going to change the world. You just might as well be ready. That's all I'm going to say. Because you have made the mark, okay? You pressed towards the mark, and now it's like, okay, let's do it. But the cause of it is so great because I can see the finish. And because I can see the finish, like I never was able to see the finish. So because there was never really a finish, like there was never really the mark to shoot for. Like, so remember, I was looking at a whole lot of other things. So I've been fixing a whole lot of the things that would stop me from just producing content because I know it's going to bother somebody, or, you know what I mean? Like, as much as I am, you know, the whatever I'm gonna say, it hurts my heart when you misunderstand me to the point where now you're hurting, and now I gotta like go back and try to fix myself so that you can understand and you can be cool. You know, like I still have that little spirit. I'm getting better with it. I'm getting truly better with it. God is showing.
Oh,
it
you
to
are.
me. Like I'm getting
Yeah, I
better.
remember
Like,
one of our first
not talk
conversations. One of
about
our first conversations was back to helping you understand the power of finishing things. Remember
Yes.
that first? It was one of the first things we talked about when we interacted with each other.
Yes, it's still my thing. And you know that within my assessment, it says that it's easy to just blow on to the next thing. And this is the only thing that I've done consistently for the last, what, 2.5 years, I wouldn't say. Like, so this is
Yeah.
actually good. This is focus. This is focus for me. This is great. And so to even decide that I don't want to hear it anymore because I need to do it, and then come to class and hear, sorry, I'm streaming. So it's like, yeah, okay. It's like, yeah, okay. Jonah,
Yeah.
I said go to
And
Nivea.
we don't want people shitting on
I
themselves.
said Nivea. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Why are you trying to do something else? I said Nivea, and then just gonna spit you out right on the damn land, so you had nowhere else to go. I mean, come on, Lord. I concur. I fall back in the
And
thing.
I
Okay?
approve your message.
Shut up. I know you. Lord.
And everybody remember, don't shit on yourself. Everybody is where they're supposed to be at this particular time right now. So don't wouldas, couldas, and shouldas. You're where you're supposed to be right now. What, dear?
I hear that. Well, right where we're supposed to be, but. And then the wouldas, couldas, and shouldas. It's true.
Hey, we ready
It's
for the next
so true.
section? Oh, I'm sorry, honey.
Well, and I wanted to say, I resonate with and you happen to have the shirt on, with our total life enjoyment, because I believe that, you know, it's your whole life. Okay, we see it. it's
my
your whole
breast.
life. If you're doing one thing in your life that you're not, okay, Phil, you're still in the show here. So what he does, I'll just sit back and, okay. So total life enjoyment. I like that it includes everything, because for me, when I got with this crazy guy, it was like everything was exploding all at once, here, and there, read this and do this. And, we're going to do this. And I'm like, okay, and then the total life enjoyment for me, because I'm trying to do all this. And then, the kids started coming and the chaos and, running the business and, we were lucky to be in technology early. I was lucky to be in technology in the very beginning with the large mainframe computers and then with the very first small computers. So we were first up with the electronic newsletter and website and all those things. Then then as it got easier, everybody was in it, and it kind of took over from there. But total life enjoyment to me, because you want your whole life, everything you're doing. And your generations, the younger generations, recognize that. And and because the technology is already there and it's easy for you, you're able to go out and become entrepreneurs and to do the different things to have that total life enjoyment. If you choose, it's easier than before, because everyone had traditional jobs. And there wasn't
Right.
streaming and the social network and all the things that you could connect with people. But I believe in total life enjoyment in all areas of your life, because if one area is not working right, it's going to affect every other area.
Well said.
Yeah.
Anybody else? All right, Grace, get us our next section.
Just think, reading this book says that you don't even have to have you don't even have to be good, like good content. You just have to be good at what you do, or silly enough to get the views in the stream. And that's the problem. You know what I mean? Like that right there is the problem, Susan, because like you said, it comes faster now. So, you used to have to work hard for something so that you could put in the work. Now it comes so easy, because if you do it and like you fall on your face the right way, the world is going to laugh at you. And then before you know it, you're going to go viral off it. You know what I mean? They're going to know you because you fell on your face. Like it's, we don't like to look at it like that, but unfortunately that's how a lot of people are getting it, and, or falling on their back and people just happen to see it. And so now, because it's streamed all the way, it resonates very well in what Sir Antonio is saying in the book. Like, do it and get it in front of somebody. And if they do what they do, they like what you look like on your face or on your back, they're gonna look at it again and then tell somebody else, yo, did you see that? So,
AJ,
it
you bring up
makes
a
Very
really good
true.
point.
sense.
You
What'd you say?
you bring up a really good point. Grace Janice put down her 10-word thingy.
Right. I was going to read it after. Go
Okay.
ahead.
No, there's something that's snuck up on everybody during this era of internet is millennials and now Gen Zers are professional market creators by birth. And it's because the only way you can make money is tap into a market. The only place that has money is a market. A market is a bunch of people trying to buy something. So if you're not making money, you're not in a market, you're not a producer of that market, you don't control that market. And my son's generation, my kids' generation, and my generation, we are professional market creators. So when we try to translate that, so when Adrian, Phil, Susan gets on the internet, is you got all these skills, but it's hard to translate that you don't need the skills. You can lay on your back. You could be a terrible comedian. Here's Phil with all these skills.
Right. Just let them stand, man.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
No skill, no nothing, and
Don't
no
need 'em.
training, and just got good camera angles and can
Because
follow a damn
because
post.
there is a market for D-list comedians. Like there's a market for D-list comedians that don't understand anything. So you bring up a really good point. You don't need to be good. Now you need to be excellent for your market. That's never going to change. That's old school feel. That's never, ever, ever going to change. You got to be excellent. But there's so many different markets out there. And that same blessing that comes with capitalism is the same problem with the fact that everybody got a market, so we get to get on Facebook and complain about our politicians and stuff too. It goes both ways. You know, I'm highlighting the positive side, but of course, you know, we can't get any gun laws to happen because everybody has a market, you know, stuff like that too. But I'll get off my politician soapbox right now.
Right. And before we get back into the book, Miss Janice says, "Hi, I'm Janice. I help lower the risk, prevent CKD, which is chronic kidney disease, with education and health planning resources."
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, wow. Kidney disease.
That's strong.
Antonio.
Well, we got 6 minutes. Oh, go.
Well, yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. These people are out here creating and doing and, you know,
Mhm.
and they may make money and things like that, but in the business world, corporate world, they are not perceived as, they have a place, they have their place, and
Mhm.
people in corporate America or small businesses, they're not interested in that, what they're doing.
No, you're 1,000,000,000% correct, and you're looking at that with the reversal of NFTs right now. The idea that anybody can create a market is everybody went out there and created NFTs. Now they're dropping in value incredibly because every opposite, you know, every action has equal reaction. There's always going to be a pushback. If I could just create a market, and so what's the problem we have now? Noise. That's what we were talking about this morning. It says everybody has a market. There's noise everywhere, which now you got to spend more money or do more things or be more naked or more violent, you know, whatever your more is in your industry, just to get past the noise. So instead of
Yeah.
wearing a two-piece, you got to wear just pasties or, you know, something, right? You got to be more, that's what you're saying. Like, that's the bad side of it. So much noise. You got to do extra stuff. Which stops authenticity. You know, when you got to be extra, it's kind of hard to be authentic.
And everybody's doing something now, where
Yep.
before it was a smaller market that was out there and you were a little bit ahead of it and it was not so crazy.
Mhm.
Now it's everything and everybody.
Yep, absolutely.
And then, so like you said, you can't see who's doing what, and but it's the way of the world.
Well, yeah,
got
it ain't going over no time soon. As soon as it stops, we just gonna plug in a mask, or we're gonna have like a little brain thing that plugs us in.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'm gonna make you laugh right before we leave. So does that mean that as I'm looking for this person that I need to help me, I don't need them to help me on this computer stuff. What I need them to do is help me make me virtual, make me in their face, make me that's what you're saying to me in my brain.
Yes.
Like, don't even, like, what I'm focused on now, if I get that, I'd be too late after, like, finally get it, it'll be time to move on to the next thing. So if I'm focused on something, I should be focusing on the meta. Like,
Right.
to
Yeah.
develop it should be developing meta. So that way, by the time it's actually formed and fit and ready, it'll be meta ready.
Right.
That my brain just said it?
No, I mean, 6 years ago, it made sense to be a speaker. Now it makes sense to be a highly distributed speaker. Those are two different things.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
it made sense to get certified by John Maxwell. Now it makes sense to be certified on TikTok as a speaker. It's things have shifted completely. You know, you're a speaker if you have a TikTok following. You're not a professional speaker if you don't today. Things change.
I mute my mic.
And TikTok is questionable now
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm certainly not saying this
because
is
of
right.
the security and China and, you know, everything else, the security of TikTok, I just decided I didn't want to be on there.
Makes good sense.
But, you know, we've created a whole lot of content in all these things. We just need to get it all put together.
Yeah, because it's sitting in the cloud right now. No, we got it all sitting in the cloud. Deanna just
Yeah,
she
can
just
you
downloaded
like
everything.
rain on that cloud?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Do some raining.
And even in the last, I mean, even from when we first heard you and you were, you know, you had everyone's attention. What year was that? 2000?
17, I
18,
think. Yes. I think it was
17?
17.
Yeah. And you had everyone's attention then, and look where we are now, from there to now.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. You're right about that.
All
That's a strong
right.
point.
Well, we're right at 7:30. Yeah, I'd like to keep this an hour or less. Anybody have anything else for the benefit of the group? And we will start next week. I feel bad. I got to wait a whole week before we do this again. But how many liked what we did tonight?
Woo.
I
Look at
did.
that.
I
This is
enjoyed it.
awesome. Thank
for the
you.
Invitation.
I
really-
guess now we have benchmarks of weeks on what
Yeah.
we should be doing.
I-
It's
I
gonna
I haven't
walk
read the
me
big
through it.
book since I wrote it, so it's new to me. I haven't read it since I
Yeah,
wrote
thanks
it.
for being here too, Antonio. You bring a lot to the program. All right, Grace.
All right, ladies and gents, thank you for joining us in 30 minutes. Come on back, okay? And join us for the Humor Consultant Show, aka we love to call it Wins and Challenges. So what the deal is for our newcomers that are on the call, you come on and share your wins, you share your challenges. If you have both, share them both. You know, if you have one or the other, come on and share them so that way we can celebrate each other with our wins and help each other with our challenges. So by the next week, you come back, the challenges have turned into a win. So that's in 30 minutes, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. So thank you again for joining us. Glad to have each and every one of you on. You can plant better. You can dominate. Love you, everyone.
Love you more. Thank
Love you
you,
more.
Grace.
Love you
Love
more.
you more.
Antonio.
Have a great
Oh
evening.
yeah. Thank you.